The 3 signs that eating less is sabotaging your fat loss are so subtle that they look like wins and totally normal until it's too late. I spent 3 years trying to reverse my way out of it. We're going to use my story to help you learn how to spot and avoid them so you don't waste 3 years like me. I call this era in my weight loss journey the worst, best weight loss I ever had. It all started when I joined the Microsoft Cortana team on Windows Phone. I had never held a consumer-facing position before, and so naturally I was terrified of doing a poor job. The anxiety of being found an imposter caused me to prioritize work over everything else. In fact, I was so worried about this that I'd often ignore hunger pangs in favor of getting one last thing done. This meant I fell into a sort of accidental intermittent fasting. I'd grab a banana on way to work, I'd then eat nothing for 6 hours, so obviously when it came time for lunch, I'd be too hungry to even consider the more nutritious options. I'd go straight for the pizza, bibimbops, and burgers. This would be followed by another 6 hours of fasting, and then too tired to make anything, I'd end up at a restaurant. Out of subliminal guilt, I'd try to eat half my order. I also always voted for the healthier restaurants like sushi joints so I could order sashimi, and if I had to go to an unhealthy restaurant like a burger place, I'd take the buns and cheese off it. Then after I came home, I'd watch TV until it was time for bed. This cycle went on for a whole month. Then one night while de-stressing with friends on Netflix, the one where Monica and Rachel meet Chandler and Ross at college came on. In my haze of work anxiety, I had not only stopped meal planning and prepping, but also doing any weigh-ins. Out of curiosity, I decided to step onto the scale, and the numbers shocked me. I had dropped 7 pounds in about 3 weeks. Holy smokes! I had accidentally stumbled onto losing weight without even trying. As I kept going with accidental intermittent fasting, at about the 4 to 5 week mark, I noticed that I started feeling really tired in the afternoons. I figured this is normal from the way I'm eating and also the work stress. At this point, I also noticed that my weight loss rate had dropped from 2.3 pounds per week to 0.7 pounds per week. I wasn't overly concerned because given that I was making no intentional effort to lose weight and yet was still losing weight, I was just happy with any weight loss at all. But the party didn't last. At about the 7 to 8 week mark, I stepped onto the scale and saw my weight stay the same. I panicked a little, but then thought this may be a one-off. But as I kept weighing myself throughout the rest of the week, my weight didn't budge. I decided to double down on the gap between meals. That first week, my weight dropped by 0.6 pounds, if I remember correctly, but even that small drop brought me great joy. I figured finally things are on track again and the weight loss will resume. But as you can probably see where this story is going, my weight loss stalled again after that drop. In fact, a week later, I had regained those 0.6 pounds back. At this point, the hunger pangs I could normally ignore between meals were getting sharper and sharper, which meant that when I did eat, the amount I'd eat kept growing, and my ability to curb my eating kept getting worse. I was also starting to feel brain fog sooner in the day, which started affecting my ability to get work done. A task that would normally take me an hour ballooned to taking up 2 to 3 hours. I was failing on all fronts, even work, the thing I had prioritized over my health and fitness. Looking back, I was actually failing the whole time. Even when I thought I was winning, I was losing. The first sign of eating less sabotaging me was that the 7-pound loss in 3 weeks was mostly lean mass, not fat mass. Why was this happening? The meals I was having, while large, were still too few. This put me in a larger calorie deficit than my body was comfortable with. My body freaked out. So it started to cut cost, and the most expensive yet useless thing for our bodies in times of low food consumption is muscle. Because muscle doesn't give us energy, it only consumes energy. This is the opposite of fat, which gives us energy, especially important when there isn't enough energy coming from food. Additionally, muscle consumes 250% more energy to maintain than fat. So of course, when I started running out of energy, my body started dropping muscle mass, which then led to my seeing rapid drop in weight, not realizing it wasn't fat I was losing. And as I kept dropping more muscle than fat, I became more and more pudgy approaching my goal weight instead of what I wanted. The second sign of sabotage was my crashing energy and escalating hunger. I genuinely thought it was normal to feel tired, hungry, and experience cravings out of my mind when eating less, aka losing weight. Turns out this is completely not normal. These were warning signs for my body and mind that it's freaking out, and my determination to ignore them caused my body to take drastic action like getting rid of muscle, clinging to fat, and pumping up hormones hormones to the point that I felt out of control in my eating. I also expected my body to behave exactly the same way day in, day out, with the same appetite, same bloat, and same energy, as if my body is a machine, when what's normal is for all of these to ebb and flow. For example, instead of feeling happy when I eat less naturally, I should expect that I likely want to eat more than usual some days soon. Similarly, there are going to be some days when I'm bloated and some days when I'm not. All of this affects my weight, and instead of focusing on the number as a snapshot, I need to focus on it as trends. The third sign of sabotage was when my weight loss stalled and I decided to double down on what I thought had been working so far. Going harder, especially when my energy, hunger, and cravings were getting worse, was a recipe for disaster. I got into a tug of war with my body, and my body always wins that game. Instead, the right tactic would have been to reassure my body that I'm on its side, give it more calories, nutrients, and rest, and then once it's reassured, return to a moderate deficit. I fell into all three of these hidden dangers of eating less because I was focused on only one thing: my weight. I was missing the holistic picture, which 1. breaks down the misleading metric of weight into the real metrics to track: fat mass and lean mass. 2. includes qualitative measures like hunger, energy, cravings, period for women, sleep, and so on. And last, focuses on how these measures are trending instead of just the recent numbers when making decisions of whether to stay or change course. Doing this completely changed my life. First, I stopped reacting to normal fluctuations with unnecessary new actions. For example, if I overate one day, I wouldn't undereat the next day because I knew that's just the natural ebb and flow of my appetite. Second, it brought me immense peace. Since no one number and no one check-in day was a life or death test, I no longer reacted with dread or panic when stepping on the scale or seeing my weight stall or even go up. You have two options at this point. 1, if you want a tried and tested, proven system that teaches you how to look at your progress holistically, as well as when to act and when it's critical you don't act, then check out the free sneak peek into my Badass Body Boss program in the comments below. Or 2, if you want to DIY it, then you don't want to ignore this video, which walks step by step exactly how our Badass Body Boss students track progress holistically. I also described case studies showing how without this tracking, the weight loss students would have headed into completely the wrong direction, causing months of lost progress. Check it out now. And always remember, you can do it.